Mets, they've been on a hot streak here. And here's the first three games recapped of the Philadelphia Phillies series and the New York Mets. So game one obviously rained out, so it was a doubleheader on Tuesday with the Mets and Phillies, where we had Tajon Walker on the mound versus Chase Anderson, and the Mets, they got off to a quick start in the ball game. Dom Smith with a home run to right center field to put the Mets up 2-0. And then the Phillies, they hung around in this ball game. And obviously, it is a 7 inning, so if your pitcher could get things going early and often, he's going to mow through a lineup and could get that complete game. But we saw Tajon Walker in this one. He got off to the quick start, and then he slowed down in that 5th inning. So he finished the day 4 1/3 with 8 strikeouts. But once again, Walker looked sharp. He was hitting the strike zone, but the umpy was squeezing him a little in this ball game. But the Mets offense, they left runners on base in this one. And the soft tossing righty, Chase Anderson, got into a little bit of a groove. And then in that 6th inning, they gave up the lead. Was the Mets. El Castro, I think they extended him too far to give up the lead, and he gave up a run. And then Diaz came in for a scoreless inning. And then Trevor May, it hasn't been a good year so far for May. He came in, he gave up the run and the hit. But obviously, it's going to be tough with that runner starting on second base to get outs this year. They want to speed up the game, and I understand that. Some people are for the rule, and some aren't. But I think the game should be 9 innings. And also for the rule with the runner starting on second base in extra innings, I'm torn on that rule, how it is. Obviously, it goes both ways for both teams. And sometimes, you know how the game is. Guys are just trying to go up there and hit home runs. And then before you know it, it's a 15-inning game and a 6-hour game at the time. So right here, the Mets in the bottom of the 8th inning, they pull it out. Jonathan VR, a nice opposite field hit to win the game. And the Mets, they were patient in this one. Brandon Nimmo, another decent game. He got on base twice in this one. Dom Smith, he's got to be in the lineup every day. I don't care if it's versus a righty or lefty. This guy's probably the best pure hitter right now on this New York Met team. And we saw Michael Conforto get moved down into the lineup, and the struggles continue for Conforto. He batted 6th in this game. Pete Alonso, he's been in a little bit of a slump. And Francisco Lindor, he's got to pick it up more. But the pitching was the name of the game in this one. Walker, another good start. Diaz, he looked solid, but Trevor May, he was a little shaky in this one. And the Mets, they gave him $7.5 million. So May, he's got to play better, but it was good to see the Mets pull this ball game out and win it after they couldn't hit the ball since the 1st inning until the later innings. Then game 2 versus Marcus Stroman. And Stroman, so far in his first 2 starts of the season, he's pretty much been unhittable for this Met team. And the Mets here, they worked Nola once again like they did last week in Philly. And the Mets, they just have Nola's number, I believe, the last few outings here. As long as they make him work and get that pitch count up, you're going to get him out of the game early, and that's exactly what happened in this one. Nola only went 5 innings, 3 earned runs, still had the 7 strikeouts, but also gave up 7 hits in this one. And the Mets bats, they came along in the clutch in this one. Nimmo, a big 3 RBI game with 3 hits. And right now, him and Dom Smith are the 2 best hitters on this team. Everyone else pretty much isn't doing much, to be honest, for this Met ball club here. But Marcus Stroman, it's a contract year once again. I was surprised he signed the $18 million qualifying offer with Stroman, but he's getting the job done. He's getting the ground balls, and he's just going out there and throwing and challenging hitters. And in this one, he challenged a few guys. We saw him challenge Harper. Hoskins, he challenged. Alec Boehm, he was only 1 for 3 in this ball game, so Stroman was going through the lineup pretty easy in this ball game. 7th inning, Familia came in. You know how it is with him. He gave up 2 hits, but he got out of it unscathed, luckily. And Familia, he's one of the shakiest guys in this Met bullpen. But hey, he came in, he got through the jam, he got the job done, and the Mets win the ball game with good pitching and just enough hitting to get by, which I feel like they've been doing a lot so far this season. They were only scoring 3 or 4 runs a game, it seems like. They only had one huge scoring performance versus Philly last week, where they had 8 runs at Citizen Bank. And then yesterday's ball game, David Peterson, what a bounce-back performance in a good pitching matchup it was on paper here versus the former Met Zach Wheeler and David Peterson. But Peterson, he outduels Wheeler in this one. But the only thing I don't like, Peterson goes 80 pitches. He has 10 strikeouts and only 2 hits and a run in this game. And once again, Rojas pulls him and he brings Familia in, who comes in and immediately gets into a jam. He gives up a hit and a walk in the inning. And then Aaron Loop comes in and clean up the pieces in this one. So right here, Rojas, I don't think he's given these guys as long as a leash this season so far. We saw it with DeGrom in the opener, only 77 pitches. And then we see it here with Peterson, mowing through this Philly lineup with the best game of his career, 6 innings, 10 strikeouts. And I think he should have been out there for one more inning, but luckily Familia didn't blow it this time. Aaron Loop got the Mets out of the jam, and this is what you want to see here. This bullpen in big situations, getting out of jams with Jeurys Familia. I can't trust him at all, and he's a guy who really should be in a mop-up role, or if you're winning by tons of runs, to come in the ball game, because I can't trust him. Luckily, his contract expires after the season, and hopefully the Mets don't bring him back, because he's been a disaster in his second stint here with the Mets. But the top of the order set the tone early in this ball game. Brandon Nimmo, another 3-hit game, 3 for 5 in this one. Francisco Lindor, was good to see him get 2 hits and 2 runs scored in this ball game. And Dom Smith, as I keep saying, best hitter on this team, arguably 3 for 5 with an RBI, and he's got to stay in the lineup, obviously, versus lefties, and he's just got to bat third each and every day for this ball club. He's outperforming Conforto. Conforto, it's a contract season for him so far this year, and he's definitely pressing in the early going, and he's free swinging pretty much at everything for this New York Met ball club. So it's not a good thing to see here Conforto struggle. And maybe it's better off the Mets didn't go out there and give him a huge contract yet, and they're going to take a wait-and-see approach. And if he gets a better deal in free agent, let it be then. But right now, Conforto, he's not producing for this ball team. But it's the Mets, they're still winning ball games, even with the struggles of Conforto, who is supposed to be the second or third best hitter this season on the club. And James McCann, it was nice to see him have his coming out party as a New York Met for the new catcher. 3 for 4 in this one with a 2-run homer that put the game on ice in the 8th inning. And that's what the Mets need to do more of. Tack on runs when they got the opportunity to. And they did it to the Philly bullpen in this one. Zach Wheeler, he got off to a bad start in this one. 6 1/3, but he gave up 2 early runs in the first inning. But he settled down. But the Mets, they hit their former teammate pretty well here with the 10 hits in the 6 innings. And then they got to Romero in that 8th inning, like I mentioned, with the McCann homer. So it was a solid ball game, a solid victory here for the Mets. And let's see if they could complete the sweep here in a 12-10 start. So the early afternoon matinee, and then they go on the road, Colorado for 3, and the Chicago Cubs. So if the Mets here could sweep the Phils in a 4-game set, this is what you want to see early in the season after the struggles early. But right now, the hitting, they ain't clicking on all cylinders. Francisco Lindor, he's off to a slow start. Pete Alonso, he hasn't been Pete yet. I know he hit a homer a few nights ago for this Met team, but he just hasn't kicked it into gear. So if those two guys really get going and this pitching could stay the course as it has the last 4 or 5 games here, this team could be something to be reckoned with. But right now, it's good to see early in the season. We're in first in the NL East. I know we've missed already 5 games of the season that we got to make up. The 3 with Washington and the 1 with Miami, and I think another Philly game thrown in there. In 3, I'll take it. If we could sweep the Phillies here today, that'll be good. Then you go on the road trip. And on road trips, you just want to be 500 or 4-2 here, because it's tough to win on the road, especially going to the West Coast, to the Rockies this week, and then back here to Chicago, which is always a tough place to play at Wrigley Field, no matter who the Cubs have or who's playing. But right here, it's good to see the Mets take the first 3 of the series. And yes, let's get greedy here and take the 4th game of the series and sweep the Phillies. So the Mets win the first 3, including the doubleheader the other night. And let's take game 4 here today at 12:10. So let's go Mets.